Alright, good afternoon YouTube. In today's video we're going to be doing another subscriber workout review. So this isn't a entire workout program, he just has questions about two different push days. So sorry about that, my Java needs to update. But anyway, so he has a couple questions about how to structure his push days, and I just want to give a bit of clarity on that because I think this is very easy to overdo. Just because, when it comes to the front of the body where people actually want to develop the most amount of muscle and size, we have a tendency to do too much. And that's kind of what I'm getting the vibe of here. So, sorry I wasn't able to answer your question in the comments. Part of it was just because of how it was written. So make sure if you have any questions about your own workout program and you copy and paste them into the description below, please have them go into a format similar to this. So it's vertical. He had them done in two separate columns next to each other, and that actually made it difficult because YouTube doesn't really make it easy to read those kinds of comments. So if you do have questions about your program in the future, or anyone else has questions about their workouts or their programs in the future, just make sure that they are stacked vertically. Okay, but anyway, so he starts off with a heavy flat barbell bench press, 5 sets of 4 to 5. So I can see that you want to get started with using like evolving rep ranges, and I'm going to make the assumption that you're a novice. So one thing I'm going to say here is that you want to broaden out this range a little bit. So want to like the difference here is just 1 rep, like it's really not much. And then so I would open this up even slightly to being 4 to 6 reps, because then you can get at anywhere between 20 to 30 reps, And if you look at, like, let's say a 3x5, that's 15, a 5x5, that's 25. So now you're able to stick within that range. But also by keeping it here, like, let's say you miss a rep, and like, let's say you try to get 6, 5, 5, 4, 4. Like, it allows you to master the weight a bit more. It allows you to stick with the weight a bit better and like get more proficient with a weight before you actually move up. So I would extend the range just slightly. 4 to 6 is a great place to start for strength work for novices. Then you go into overhead press, 3 sets of 10 to 12. So one thing I'm going to say here is that everything is in the 3 sets of 10 to 12 range, and what I would recommend here is to not do that. You want to have some variety of rep ranges, and especially for the first 2 movements, just because on those movements you can push a little bit more on the intensity. Just because, you're fresher, you have the advantage of being more recovered. So I would push the intensity or the intensiveness of these 2 movements a bit more than you would on others. So here with the overhead press, it's okay to do 3 sets of 10 to 12 on the overhead press because it's a good movement. But one thing I would like to see personally, I kind of prefer doing overhead press, especially if I'm going a bit heavier on the overhead press, to be 6 to 10, maybe 8 to 12. Like, that's kind of like my recommendation there. Then 3 sets of barbell bench press. So my thing here, right? So the reason why I say that this is where you can kind of run into the issue of just doing too much. The main goal, like, what is your main goal? Like, is it size? Is it strength? Because if it's size, I mean, like, yeah, having multiple exercises might be a good idea, but at the same time, like, your ability to recover from such high volume, because volume is something that is dependent not only on sets and reps, but also the number of exercises you do in a session, or the number of exercises you put into your program. One thing I will say is that you really don't need to put everything into the workout program. You really don't. Like, the amount that you actually need to do if you are a novice, and especially if you are a natural lifter, really isn't all that much. So what I would do here is I would choose 2 pressing movements, and then either a 3rd accessory movement or the cable crossover or butterfly crossover, whatever you have going on there. So me personally, what I would do is something like at most 3 presses. So I would do something like, let's say, flat barbell bench, overhead press, and then let's say dips or a dumbbell press. And then that's my 3 presses for the day. And then I don't do like crossover movements. Like, mainly because at the time my goals were more like, and even now they're a bit more biased towards strength. So me doing cable crossovers really isn't going to do much for me. And I can get like muscle mass and strength from doing something more like a press. So dips, dumbbell work, stuff of that nature. But if your goal is more size, I would still say you want to kind of replace one of these movements and just keep this one. So pick a choice, like have a choose between these 2 movements essentially. Like, Either do the incline barbell bench, because look at how much benching volume you're getting here with high intensity, so you're getting quality tonnage. Then you're doing more pressing here, and you're doing it in a more intense range. If you were to do this, maybe 2 sets, maybe, and if you do choose 3, you need to use a very moderate load. But like I said, I would just much rather choose between these. The next thing is that you have 3 different tricep extensions. This is unnecessary. This is overkill. Really, you need just 1 or 2. Like, quite honestly, like, you just need 1 or 2. Think about how much the triceps are involved here, here, and if you choose this movement, here also. And if not, then you still get all this tricep work. Then you get some work here. I think that just 1 of these is enough, and then just cycle through them. Like, so, like, what I would do is, like, pick 1 to 2, rotate. So this is now we're going to talk about like exercise rotation, right? So let's say you choose to do these 2, right? So these are the 2 tricep movements that you choose to do, and honestly I would do something a bit different here. So don't just superset everything with the same movement. Superset it with like maybe some rear delt raises, so that way you're able to use a different head of the delt. But here, just pick 2 of these, and then after you get really good with one of them, replace it with the other version. So you get really good at cable pushdowns. Eventually you're like, okay, this is a bit too easy, I'm kind of bored of this movement or whatever, and then you switch it out for this one and you keep the other one in or whatever. Like, this is where you can introduce a exercise rotation. This is where it becomes really important to understand that in your workout program, in your workouts, you don't need to throw in every single exercise under the sun. It's unnecessary. It's from a time perspective, from an efficiency perspective, you are more likely to just overdo it. And I'm not talking about overtraining. It's just like, you know, at a certain point, the amount of volume you do actually just gives you diminishing returns, and you're just staying in the gym longer than you need to. And also, like, if you have other responsibilities, if you care about your recovery or things of that nature, then you just kind of want to avoid that. So just by doing this, I've already cut your workout down in half, and in my opinion, I made it a bit more effective, because now you're able to put in more effort in the work that you do. When you just keep throwing in all this work, you run into the risk of just sandbagging everything, and you don't want to do that. So that's really important there. So you do less exercises so that you put more effort into the exercises you choose. So let's get into the second day. Heavy overhead press, 4 sets of 5. So here I would extend the range out again, 5 sets of 4 to 6. With the overhead pressing, like, in my opinion, actually doesn't really do very well in like with low intensities anyway. So let's say on the first overhead press day, I recommended 6 to 10, 8 to 12. On this day, I'm going to recommend 5 to 8. I think that this is a bit better than going low, because the strength potential of the overhead press, just by the absolute amount of weight you can lift, is a lot lower. So it's just better to build it up with volume, with reps, and that's why I would recommend doing a 5 to 8 range here. The bench press is an anomaly because it responds well, in my opinion, it responds well to both intensity and volume. So that's why you need to have both present in the workout or your program, and then you go from there. Then we go to the barbell bench press. So let's see. Here you did it for 4 to 6. So what I would recommend here instead is you do it for 6 to 10. 6 to 10, or even 8 to 12. Like, you can go from there. Same issue that you run into here. One thing that you could do is like pick one for the day, man. Like on this day, because it's the bench press day, you do cable crossovers because you just got a lot of work done with the bench. And then on this day, you do incline dumbbell bench press just because it's a bit easier to recover from, but same thing. And then also the same exact critique that I had up here applies down here. Just pick 1 or 2 of these. I'm going to bias more towards 1, and then just go from there. Add something in over time. Like, my philosophy on this is like, you want to start fairly low to moderate and then build up over time, add things over time. It's much more productive to add things over time than start too high and have to take things away. And the issue here, right, a lot of people might think like, oh, if I just start too high, I'm just going to keep doing it and eventually I'm going to recover. No, you're not. That's not how the SRA curve, that's not how the general adaptation syndrome occurs. Like, the way that it happens, right, you have a baseline. You introduce stress to the body, your body goes into an alarm phase where it gets weaker, and then it recovers, and now you actually have adapted and you are stronger than you were before. Your baseline has increased. If you start too high, you initiate a stress response into the body that it cannot recover from, so it perpetually gets weaker. You don't adapt, you get weaker, which is why you need to start small and build up. So that's why when you have your training, your programming, don't do everything underneath the sun. So to kind of finish off the video, one thing I'm going to recommend with upper body days, so how to structure an upper body day, this is how I usually do it. So I'm going to take the example of supersets. So let's say I start with a bench press. So let's say let's just do like a press, and then I superset it with a pull, like pull-ups, rows, something of that nature. If you can't do that, then just have it be its own separate thing. So a press and a pull, then supplementary press or pull, supplementary press, and then pull in, let's see, opposite plane. So let's say you did a vertical pull here. I tend to do a horizontal pull here just to work the muscle a bit differently. And then I'll do some lat work, supersetted with triceps, just because I think that that's pretty easy to superset. Like say for example, using like the lat pull down, the tricep rope machine is like right next to you, so it's really easy to superset those two. And then if you want to do like some accessory chest work, then you can do like, let's say, cable fly, and rear delts. That's just 4 things, but now you're able to get a lot of work done. You hit the main movements, you hit the main muscles, you hit them hard, you hit them heavy. Then you get some work on things that you want to isolate, and you can even throw in things like, let's say, like, you know, on the pec deck, you do chest flies, you do rear delts, and then you do biceps. On this, you want to do supersets, like especially on your accessory, isolation, machine type work, just because it's easier to do there. You do lat pull downs, you do some tricep extensions, you do some bicep curls, you wait like maybe 30-60 seconds just because you've been resting from the lats during these exercises, and then you go here. Like that's an option. But notice the difference between this and, let's say, you just, you know, don't make any adjustments and you just have this. So this is what I recommend for an upper body day. This is what you have for an upper body day. Not saying it's bad. This is very common for most people who try to write their own programs, is that they think, oh, I want more triceps, so I need to do this. I want more chest, so I need to do this. Like at the end of the day, one thing that's really important to understand is just you need to really look at where you're putting your effort into. If you're just throwing in more volume into it, you're kind of like going to the wrong direction. You want to first put effort into these heavy hitters and then add in what you can fit, but you want to take care of this first. You always want to take care of that first. So that's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. I hope everyone has found it useful. If you have any questions about your own workout program, leave them in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to help out. My name is Carl King, StanStrength.com. If you have any questions about coaching, if you want fitness apparel, you can go to my website and you can find both of those things there. So have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.